Let's talk about AOC.
Cortez. She is popular, she's populist,
I got pee.
but is she enough of both to run for president? Some say to start thinking about it. And seriously, AOC is drawing huge crowds. She's turning events into slickly produced videos that have the scent of a bid for the highest office in the nation. It has even Meghan McCain convinced that she's running and that people discount the idea and AOC at their own peril. I just want to play a little bit from this video where she filmed a part of it in Idaho, of all places. Just listen to this.
You know, Idaho, I am so touched being here. I'm a girl from the Bronx. To be welcomed here in this state, all of us together, seeing our common cause, this is what this country is all about.
I've seen a heck of a lot of presidential announcement videos just like that. And I think that you can't discount the ability in a completely off year of a random congressperson to put together tens of thousands of people in red states like Idaho.
I think that when our party is thirsty for leadership and hungry for leadership, especially young, dynamic, diverse leadership, when most of our leadership right now, like Chuck Schumer and others, are older, white males, you know, you're going to get crowds like this. You're going to get the news attention. People are going to say that you're potentially running for president. If I were AOC, I actually wouldn't run for president. I think that one of the things that she can do in the presidential election is be an incredibly effective surrogate. And I think that she could utilize her lists. She could go out there and
Yeah, that would be really good, actually. No, it'd be so much better if she didn't run for president. Everyone should stop talking about AOC running for president, actually. It's so much better for everybody. Yeah, she's really popular. She should use that to defend, I don't know, Pete Buttigieg or whoever we have chosen. It's too early anyways. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know. I don't know what'll happen from here on out. Okay? I don't know what will happen from this point on. There might not even be another election, okay? So it's kind of silly to have these conversations. Having said that, however, it is pretty funny that they've already decided that this is a threat. They've already decided this is a major threat, you know? It's cool.
campaign. She can draw the crowd. She can do that kind of stuff. I do think that.
Yeah, they're going to do a Slotkin Fetterman 2028 campaign. I will have left the country by that point, I think. Oh my God. Oh, I want to throw up thinking about that.
The party is looking for someone who is going to be more moderate, who can bring all sides together, including Republicans, and I am not sure she can do that.
Okay, so Kevin, Meghan McCain says discount her at your peril, but she is a populist. She is like, this is about class politics, working class people, some of the same people Donald Trump appeals to. Does that worry you? As a
AOC, I have a tremendous amount of respect for. I buy her T-shirts for $39.95, tax the rich. They're very popular in Miami Beach. I wear them, and I sign them, and I give them to people. She has an 82% margin on that, proving that inside of every socialist is a capitalist trying to get out. But however, I would say this about her. You know, the ambassador of America, the CEO...
An 82% profit margin is a lie, by the way. Her T-shirts are made in unionized factories. We have the same providers. Like, we have the same garment manufacturers. No, he's just straight up lying. Also, all the profits go to her campaign. It's not even going into her pocket. 82% margins is such an insane statement to make, because I don't even think, like, if you make the most dog quality Chinese manufacturing, if you go to a Chinese factory and say, give me the worst version, like Redbubble, and then sell it for $35, you still probably wouldn't get 82% profit margins. That is so funny. This guy is so consistently wrong about business. It blows my mind. Like, isn't that the one thing that he's supposed to be good at? Business? Isn't he the business guy?
CEO, the president, they have to embody the American dream. That's their number one job. Our number one export is not technology or energy. It's the American dream. People come to America.
Twitch is saying some audio is being muted because of copyright. What are you talking about? What are you talking, like right now on stream? Like, you can't hear what I'm saying?
To achieve the American dream. She embodies the American nightmare. And
How
so
so?
she could never,
How
ever,
so?
because she doesn't believe that people should succeed in wealth. And this is a huge problem for her. What
What
makes
if she
America
believes that
so...
the only success is not wealth? I mean, she came from very modest background.
You said, how is he allowed to lie? Dude, that's all people do. that's the welcome to the overwhelming majority of legacy media on a lot of issues, and especially when you're like a right-wing guy. Remember, Kevin O'Leary's whole purpose here is to glaze Trump, even though he's a Canadian. Like, that's the other side of the story that makes me even more mad. It's like, bro, you're Canadian. Shut up. Shut up.
She was a waitress. I mean, I think that story, a lot of people would say that is the American dream. I think that is what...
She does not support capitalism.
No, well, I'm saying, I guess what I'm saying is, like, what if she's a democratic socialist, but that's that. But what if some Americans...
Is Kevin O'Leary Lebanese too? Oh my God. Dude, let me guess. Maronite Christian. Bro, I swear to God, there is literally a secret Lebanese plot where all I'm Phoenician ass Lebanese Christians that come to the Western world. Some of these Lebanese Christians, bro. Oh my God. It's like, dude, when you realize how many of the most prominent ethnically ambiguous white adjacent people that you would just immediately think are white that say the most insane, irrational are secretly Lebanese, it freaks people out. It freaked me out. It froke. I was froken. Okay. Judge Janine Perot immediately comes to mind. Austin Show.
Say the most important thing is not facilitating the rich getting richer. That is literally the message she's running on.
You just tainted the American dream with that statement. Do you understand that? You tainted what makes America work. You should take that back. I forgive you for that. I forgive you for that. Don't ever say that again.
All I am suggesting, Kevin, is that there are many Americans who work really hard, and their aspiration is not to become supremely wealthy. It is to have strong family units. It is to have community. It is to have a sense of purpose. It is to contribute to their environment. There are many Americans for whom just being...
God damn. She's cooking.
Filthy rich is not the American dream.
I want to forgive you, but
that?
you're making it hard.
But do you understand that? I mean, am I wrong that there are not many Americans in this country who they have aspirations that are outside of building unimaginable wealth?
Well, I think
how is that controversial?
I mean, Scott Jennings is going to say, no, they do. They all do.
I think there's a long way from, having the dream of building unimaginable wealth to also having, a lot of people just want the aspiration.
According to Kevin, I'm besmirching the American dream.
The aspiration to not have to struggle every day. I mean,
exactly.
and to have a job or have a career or have a business that allows them to live a life where they're not living paycheck to paycheck, living under constant anxiety. And so I agree with Kevin. The American dream is believing that you live in a country where if you achieve the status that you want to achieve so that you're not struggling or that you are filthy rich, that some politician is not going to come along and try to take it away from you.
No, that's what got us to this problem to begin with, honestly. That mentality promoted by like Scott Jennings and like Kevin O'Leary is unironically how we got to this issue to begin with. No, the American dream is literally to be able to survive on a single salary, have children, have a upward social mobility, all that good stuff. White picket fence on your house and a car. That's the dream. The dream is survival, okay? These guys are the reasons why you can't achieve said dream. Because they have to have helicopters, okay? They have to have yachts. That's the way that income and wealth distribution has to work in this country. God forbid. No, the American dream is to have a Corvette and a 10-bedroom mansion with no care to anyone is basically what they're saying. Yeah. It's so crazy, dude. It is so annoying. God, this kind of commentary pisses me off so much. It's like, Yeah, here. If you want to know Kevin O'Leary's worldview, this is one of the best demonstrations of it. Here.
According to Oxfam, of the world's 85 richest people is equal to the 3.5 billion poorest people.
It's fantastic. And this is a great thing because it inspires everybody, gets the motivation to look up to the 1% and say, I want to become one of those people. I'm going to fight hard to get up to the top. This is fantastic news, and of course I applaud it. What can be wrong with this?
She's like, I'm sorry, what? This is fantastic. Wow, that's cool. Like, look. A lot of people say, oh, Hasan, you're a eat the rich style socialist. Like, you want to execute billionaires on the street. Like, I don't say those things. Okay? I do want wealth redistribution. I understand that, the state will have to enforce such things at a certain point, right? I would hope that this would happen through a peaceful and democratic process. That is my dream. Now, having said that, Kevin O'Leary's existence makes this argument so difficult because if you're a guy that is working at a company and you got time, pay, you've experienced real negative wage growth as a consequence of inflation for a couple years, now you got unimaginable instability happening that you're staring down. You're looking at inflation potentially again. Okay, you're going to experience an economic shock again. You didn't do anything to trigger this. You're just simply existing and trying to survive. And you hear this billionaire be like, it's so awesome that everyone is experiencing extreme poverty. Like, I'm not saying anything, but if you're that type of person and you hear this, you're going to have certain opinions that are not so great for Kevin O'Leary. You know what I mean? These people don't realize that they are agitating in that direction. I think they've grown too comfortable thinking like, no one ever wants to dream a world outside of capitalism, and therefore everyone agrees with me. And there are still plenty of people who do. Okay? There are still plenty of people who look to that and go, no, he's right. I think it's great to wish for a better financial situation. I think it's great to imagine a world where I also am just like Kevin O'Leary, a multi-billionaire, right? There's still plenty of people who are entrepreneurs and temporarily embarrassed millionaires and billionaires out there. They are the majority. But the number of people that look to this with resentment grows every single day, especially as people's finances get worse and worse, especially as they recognize that this market that's supposed to be stable has experienced tremendous shocks in cycles that seemingly get smaller and smaller, like that window of stability between the last economic bust, the boom bust cycle, gets smaller and smaller until what? Like, we're just going to have one every week? Is that fine? Is that normal? And it's the worst part about it is you got no say in this process. Like, Donald Trump is a great example of this. You vote for him, or even if you don't vote for him, he's just decided to do this thing. He just decided to go, yeah, we got to fix the trade deficit. I'm rewriting the last 40 years of trade policy that we spearheaded with no way of even fixing, with no way of even building a robust manufacturing base that spells good wages and good jobs and good benefits for you, by the way. Like, you do that, and all people see in the outcome of said decisions made by one moron is an unaffordability crisis that blows up in the process and empty shelves at the grocery store. Yeah, people are going to be resentful. They're like, I didn't vote for this. The f is this? I voted for the opposite of this. Or I didn't vote for this at all, and look where we're at now. Like, I don't think these people understand, You can only push people so far into a corner. Once they recognize that they're backed into a corner with no way out, they're going to try to fight their way out of it. The older, wealthier generations were aware of this. That's why libertarians to call welfare riot tax. They've completely forgotten why there is a welfare state to begin with. It is to offer a lifeline to capitalism. It's so that capitalism can continue without revolt.
Really?
Yes, really.
So somebody living on
I celebrate capitalism.
$1 a day in Africa is getting up in the morning and saying, I'm going to be Bill Gates.
That's the motivation
Only
everybody
thing
needs.
between me and
I'm
that
not
guy
against
is
charity.
motivation. I just need to
Describing
pull
the
up my
increasing
socks.
global cycle
I
makes me
don't
think of the
have
volatility
socks.
of
Look,
crypto.
don't tell me that you want to redistribute wealth again. That's never going to happen. Okay?
You know what? You take a simple stat like this, which is neither
Oh, that's never going to happen. Yeah, okay.
good nor bad. It's just a fact.
It's a celebratory stat. I'm very excited about it. I'm wonderful to see it happen. I tell
You know
kids
what?
every day,
Just
if you...
I'm just gonna,
what's wrong with
comes
this?
up at a cocktail party.
No, Amanda, what's wrong with this statement?
One possible response
If you
to it.
work hard, you might be stinking
We're
rich one
talking
day.
about people in extreme abject poverty. That's how you get $3.5
No, we're
billion
not. You were just talking
in
about
this
really rich
category.
people.
No. Okay. I'm going to tell you later what you should say to this.
Incredible stuff. Incredible stuff. Yeah, there's a resentment brewing, and I don't think these guys are capable of comprehending that. Delivery geldi baba. I don't think these guys are capable of seeing that resentment brewing. And I fear that the more they recognize that there's resentment growing amongst the working class, the more on board with fascism they will get. Some of them, however, have already decided fascism is the way forward, even if it cooks their bottom line in the short term. Kevin O'Leary is a great example of this, talking about how we got to squeeze Chinese heads against the wall with 400% tariffs only a couple of weeks ago, and then singing an entirely different tune yesterday on CNN. What blows my mind is he's still getting prominent positions on CNN. Why the f is anybody listening to this? He has demonstrated how wrong he is over and over again, but I guess it doesn't matter.
From you and tell you you're the enemy. That's her program. If you made it, if you worked hard and you have talent, she says you're corrupt and you're the enemy. And that's why I think Kevin's right. It's not going to fly.
Or Dan, last word.
I'll tell you another incredibly stupid version of this that is instructive. It's it lives in my mind. Okay, wait, hold on. Fiona, go. Another incredibly instructive like resentment attitude that you hear from billionaires siding with fascism over even a little bit of pushback, even the slightest of pushback, was that egg-headed freak Mark Andreessen. It exists in my mind where no, Fiona, no. She's trying to break through the gate to come in here. That's why I keep saying no. Now, Mark Andreessen, I remember in one of these like podcasts that he went on, complained about the fact that back in the day, you used to celebrate billionaires. You used to celebrate billionaires. You know, billionaires were jobs providers, jobs owners, and that social contract is now broken because people don't celebrate billionaires anymore. They don't revere billionaires anymore. It's like, it's really up. They're being real mean to me. And it's like, yeah, of course they are, man. What are you talking about? Let me see if I can find it. I think like social contract is broken. Oh, here. This is the one. This is the one. This is the one. The deal is dead. Andreessen takes on society's shift. Mark Andreessen explains how the deal between tech founders and society unraveled. Founders once created jobs, paid taxes, and funded philanthropy, all cheered by the public and press. But in the past decade, everything changed. Wealth became demonized. Tech turned into a villain. And even philanthropy is now viewed with suspicion. This is the reason why, according to Mark Andreessen, who is one of the leaders in this tech shift, he's mad that the working poor don't worship this egg-headed freak anymore.
Basically something that was nobody ever wrote down, but everybody understood, which I call the deal. The deal was somebody like me basically could start a company. You could invent a new technology. In this case, the web browsers and all the other things that Netscape did. Everybody would think that was great. And by the way, we got, glowing press coverage. Everybody loved us. It was great. And then you could go public. You could make a lot of money.
Also great.
That was great. You would pay your taxes, and that was fine. That was obviously keep part of the social compact. Within the context of a progressive tax system, that was fine. And then at the end of your career, you would be left with this giant pot of money. And then what you would do is donate it to philanthropy. That washes away all of your sins. Reclassifies you as from a business, from a sort of suspect business mogul to a virtuous philanthropist, and then that's that, and that's the arc, and it's all great and wonderful. And then by the way, along the way, the press loves you. You get invited, you get honorary degrees at all these universities, you get invited to all the great parties, you get invited to Davos, you get invited to Aspen, you get to come in and, sit with the New York Times editorial board. You get, the dinner parties are spectacular. There's all these incredibly important, like, wonderful people. And then you get married, and you and your spouse have the exact same politics.
And then you sign the giving pledge, and everything's awesome.
You sign the giving pledge, and everything is great. And then Warren Buffett talks about how great you are, and it's just like it's all like wonderful. And basically, what happened, what I experienced was the people in charge of all this, basically broke the deal in basically every way that you possibly can, right? So basically, every single thing I just said is, for the last decade has been now held to be presumptively evil. And we can kind of go step by step kind of through that, so it's everything from, just the whole idea that there are certain people who are, merit a greater economic outcome than others is itself evil. Technology, of course, is held to be presumptively evil. Tech companies are held to be presumptively evil. Tech people are held to be this, this evil class. Anybody who's rich is evil. And then, the capstone for me, the thing that really shook me was when I realized that the philanthropy was being redefined as evil, which is...
Yeah, I wonder why. Maybe because 501c4s is seen as a fucking comfortable tax haven for people like Mark Zuckerberg that basically take all of their wealth and dump it into a 501c4, an advocacy group. No, not a C3, a 501c4, which is an advocacy group, so that it's another version of tax evasion. You can't even do the washing away of your sins, which, what might those sins be? I don't know. Okay, interestingly enough, you recognize that there are some sins involved, even as a joke. But even that aspect of it has turned into a money laundering and tax evasion policy. Like, what are we talking about? So, yeah, of course, there's a lot of growing resentment towards the very wealthy citizens that dominate people's lives. Like, it's a healthy resentment to have, as I say all the time.